Hi there. My name is Michel Daoust. I've been playing Magic for quite some time, so I'm a big, huge Magic fan. Even a bigger Magic fan of the Ice Age block, so my favorite sets from Magic, so Ice Age Alliances and Coldsnap, when that was released in 2006. Also a huge fan of Magic the Puzzling, so for those who remember that, who were there in the 90s, Mark Rosewater and I think others also did the same thing, whether it was in the Duelist or other magazines, where he would give you a puzzle like a board state. So here are the cards in play, and a number of how much life you have, how much your opponent has life, and you have to defeat your opponent by the end of your turn or something like that. So it was kind of a mathematical challenge using magic cards or a puzzle to defeat your opponent. So, being a big fan of the Ice Age block and of Magic the Puzzling, I thought I would do my own Magic the Puzzling using cards from the Ice Age block. So, this is a puzzle that I probably did sometime in 2008, 9, 10, or around there. Probably tweaked it a lot over the years. Tried to make it as interesting as possible. So, what is the puzzle? The puzzle is using cards only from the Ice Age block. It's to do a turn one kill. There are not many blocks in Magic where you can do a turn one kill, Ice Age being one of them. I know Mirage is possible also, and there's probably one or two other blocks, but it's not possible in most blocks. Doing a turn one kill in the Ice Age block is, I wouldn't say it's complicated. There are many different ways to do it. With accelerators like Rite of Flame or Dark Ritual, there's a way to get things done in different manners. But this one is special. Why is it special? I'm doing it by exiling 100% of the cards. So when the game will end, 100% of my cards will be exiled before I beat my opponent. So when you think about it, it's not you're trying to think, how can that be done? Because when you cast a spell, the spell on resolution goes to your graveyard. When you're attacking with your a creature card, it's still in play. So all I'm going to say is that this will get done by exiling 100% of the cards. So nothing in hand, nothing in graveyard, nothing on the stack, nothing anywhere. And the other thing, I'm also a big fan of the Ice Age storyline, so bear with me, but I will share some elements from the Ice Age storyline as I get along. Maybe a bit more at the beginning, so it might be a little bit more slow to get things going early on, but as the combo rolls out, it will get faster and faster. So to do a turn one kill, first thing you need to stack your cards. So of course my cards are in the order that I want them to be. I actually have my first 7 cards that I'm drawing already here out in front of me. The other thing, of course, the opponent cannot cast any spells. One Force of Will, and they could stop you, so they don't have the ability to cast anything on your first turn. And just to make this at least interesting in a way, the deck will also include every single card from the Ice Age block, 4 copies. So, the set Ice Age had 383 cards, 373 were unique. Alliances was 199, 144 were unique. There were actually 55 cards that were had 2 arts, so all the commons and some of the uncommons had 2 arts. And finally, Coldsnap had 155 cards, but 5 reprinted snow-covered lands. So we have a grand total of 667 cards that are unique in the Ice Age block, so times 4, that's our starting deck. However, we will not be playing for ante. So since we're not playing for ante, we will remove one of the 667 cards, which is the Amulet of Quaz. So Amulet of Quaz, and I won't go into the details, but it's actually a fun artifact that on a coin flip, you can beat your opponent, the planeswalker in front of you. So we will remove these from So they're in our deck, but we will remove them from our starting library. Then I've stacked up the next 60 cards. So I got my initial 7, the next 60. And then I will use this Jester's Scepter deck divider to actually represent all the other 2,600 or so cards in my library. So that will go right under the library right here. So what else about the Ice Age block? From a storyline perspective, this happens, of course, after the Brothers' War. After the Dark, the Ice Age started. It actually lasted for about 2,500 years. All the cards, or pretty much all the cards from the Ice Age block, actually are from something like the last 50 years of the Ice Age block. So really at the complete end of the block. 500 years before that is when the kingdom of Kjeldor was founded. So Oriel Keldos left a kingdom that was called Storgard. So they left Storgard with a couple of other individuals to form the kingdom of Kjeldor. So it's actually a nation that did not last very long, because after that 500 years at the end of the Ice Age, Kjeldor actually united with Balduvia to become a new Argive. At the same time, when Kjeldor was created, there's 2 other fun facts. First one is the year that Freyalise ascended as to Planeswalker. And the second one is the year that, or just about in that time frame, that Marit Lage, that 2020 cosmic horror, was trapped in the Ronan Glacier, and she was stuck in there for at least 500 years. So since it's the Ice Age and it is cold, so we'll get starting. We'll start and heat things up. So to heat things up, what better card than to put into play a land that is called Lava Tubes. So it's a land that produces red or black mana. It's actually a horrible land to play. When you tap it, you put a depletion counter on it, and it does not untap at the next untap. Instead, you remove the depletion counter. So we'll tap that to add 1 red mana to your mana pool. And to help me track my stuff, I got my Coldsnap spin down tokens, and also my Deckmasters spin down tokens to help me track everything that I will need to track. So I said we're heating things up, so we'll heat things up first using that red mana to cast a sorcery, Rite of Flame. So Rite of Flame, add 2 red to your mana pool, and then add 1 red for every Rite of Flame in your graveyard. So this will give us 2 red mana. This will go to the graveyard. And we'll cast another Rite of Flame. This time we'll add us 2 + 1, so 3 red mana to the mana pool. And we'll cast a third Rite of Flame, adding us again another 2 red mana, but this time +2, as there's 2 Rite of Flames in the graveyard. So at the end of all this, we will be at 7 red mana. Then we will use 5 of those 7 red mana to cast a Thrumming Stone. So Thrumming Stone is actually the only legendary artifact in the block. What this card does, it gives every card that you cast, it gives the ability Ripple 4, which means when you cast a spell, you reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Any of those cards have the same name as the card you just cast. Well, that card can actually be casted without, it will go on the stack without having to pay the mana cost. And that card that goes on the stack will also have Ripple 4. So that will resolve. Of course, I know exactly what cards are in the library and in what order. So the Ripple ability is optional. I don't have to Ripple if I don't want to, but since I know what cards are in the library and in what order, sometimes I will Ripple and sometimes I will not Ripple. So with 2 red mana, we will pay 1 to cast a Barb Sextant. Barb Sextant is an artifact that you pay 1, sacrifice it, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. It's also a cantrip, so you get to draw a card at the beginning of next turn's upkeep, or a slow trip, like many people say. So we will activate the Thrumming Stone, we will ripple away. And the first card rippled is Winter's Night. So I'll take a quick break here just to let you know. I thought they would be fun to share all the legendary cards in the Ice Age block. Since when we're rippling away, there are some cards that will be completely useless. So the useless cards will always be a legendary card from the Ice Age block. I'll always, so I'll start with the first legend that will be revealed will be all enemies of Kjeldor. And once I've gone through all the enemies of Kjeldor, then it will be the allies of Kjeldor. So, not sure if I mentioned this, but the combo will be done in 4 phases. So this is the first phase, which is time to heat things up. And then there will be 3 more phases after this one. So Winter's Night is actually an enchant world, so it's not a legend. It's the only enchant world in the set. Then we have Kjeldor, Rainwind Master, who's trying to keep Terrius there cold, trying to keep everything frozen. And finally, second card, Deathkeeper, which is an orc that did a pact with a cosmic horror to gain pretty much not immortal life, but to be able to reanimate creatures, and was an enemy of Kjeldor. And finally, the fourth card, a Barbed Sextant. So cards that were rippled with Thrumming Stone that are not put into play are put under your library in any order. Just to save time, I'll just put them aside, but in reality, they are back in the library. And the 2 Barbed Sextants will resolve, and now we're left with 1 red mana, 1 card in hand. Things might look grim, but don't worry, they're not. So we will use that last red mana to tap and sacrifice a Barbed Sextant, and this will allow us to draw 1 card at the beginning of next turn's upkeep. Yes, I know there will not be a beginning of the next turn's upkeep, but I will still track them up here over the deck. So we will add a blue to our mana pool, and with that blue, we will cast our last card, which will be a Brainstorm. So really powerful card. The flavor text from Brainstorm refers to a duel between, I think it's Gusta, is it Gusta? I need my glasses. Gusta, Ebbis' daughter, and Zur the Enchanter. So let's ripple away. First, we will ripple the Zur the Enchanter, enemy of Kjeldor, and then ripple away 3 Brainstorms. So Zur under the library, and then we'll resolve all 4 Brainstorm. So Brainstorm is draw 3, put 2 back on top of your library. So it will net you 1 card every time. So 4 Brainstorms in a row is like draw 6 and put 2 back. So I will draw the 4 cards. So we now have 0 mana, 3 cards in play, and that ends phase 1. Now moving on to phase 2, which is called a Time of Bones. So Limdul was probably one of the biggest enemies of the Ice Age, from the Kjeldorans, sorry. So a lot of zombies, a lot of undead, a lot of bones. And actually, Limdul / Mersil, because it's the same character, does not have a legendary card in the Ice Age block. In fact, probably the 6 most influential or powerful characters from the Ice Age block, none of them have a card in the Ice Age block. So those are Limdul, Mersil, you have Jaya Ballard, the Task Mage, and then Planeswalker, Yoda the Archmage that we have right here, and then the Planeswalkers, Freyalise, Tevesh Zat, and Leshrac. So, starting phase 2, those who know well the cards from Ice Age Alliances know exactly what's coming next. So we will play an Elvish Spirit Guide, which is a 2/2 creature that we can exile. And when we exile it, so this is our first card, we have our first card exiled from the game. So when we exile Elvish Spirit Guide, it actually gives us 1 green mana. We will use that green mana to cast a Tinderwall, which is a 0/0/3 wall that you can just pay 0, sacrifice, and it will give you 2 red mana. So we'll ripple away. And now we're in the undead. So Garza Zold, Plague Queen, who took over Krav at the end of the Ice Age, Hakum Stromgald's Scourge, which is probably the leader of the zombies when Slim Duel had left, and the Lord of Tressorhorn, which actually was there to, let's say, as a puppet to I don't want to say to replace Slim Duel, but to fake replacing Slim Duel, I guess would be the right thing to say, sometime in the alliances. And then another Tinderwall. So these will go under the library. We'll resolve both Tinderwalls. We'll sacrifice one Tinderwall to add 2 red to our mana pool. We'll take 1 red, tap the Barb Sextant, sacrifice the Barb Sextant to give us 1 black mana, and then we're drawing a second card at the beginning of next turn's upkeep. And then with that black mana, probably see this coming, and one of the most popular cards in Magic, Dark Ritual, that will give us 3 black mana. So we'll ripple away Mariki Reberit, and then 3 Dark Rituals. So Mariki Reberit is actually probably the only legend that we don't know too much about from the Ice Age block. All we know is that she controlled other creatures, probably an enemy of Kjeldor, but to be honest, I am not sure. So she will go under the library and will resolve all 4 Dark Rituals, netting us 12 black mana. And now we're able to get things started a bit more, but we need cards. So we will then cast probably a card that you don't know, Casting of Bones, which costs 3, so down to 9 black mana. And Casting of Bones is an enchanted creature. Then when the creature dies, you draw 3 cards and you put 1 of those 3 cards in your graveyard. So we'll ripple away. So Casting of Bones, we're in Time of Bones. Skeleton Ship is perfect legend for the Time of Bones. And then 3 more Casting of Bones. And yes, different artwork, but as I mentioned before, in Alliances, the commons all had 2 different artworks. So Skeleton Ship under the library, 4 Casting of Bones on the Tinderwall. And then to end phase 2, we will sacrifice the Tinderwall, adding 2 red mana, so we're up to 3 red mana. 4 Casting of Bones will go to the graveyard and trigger, allowing us to draw 4 times 3 cards, and each time having to put 1 in the graveyard. So we'll draw 3, and the card that we'll put in the graveyard is a Martyr of Bones. So what a good card to put in the graveyard with the Casting of Bones. I think it's just the theme is just beautiful on that. But it's not only for theme purposes that it's the Martyr of Bones that's going into the graveyard. Martyr of Bones is actually going to be one of the most important cards for the success of this combination, of this puzzle, I should say. And I'll explain later what the Martyr of Bones does. So again, draw 3, another Martyr of Bones to the graveyard, draw 3 again, same thing, put another Martyr of Bones in the graveyard, and one last time, draw 3, and put a 4th Martyr of Bones in our graveyard. So that ends phase 2, and then we will move on to phase 3, which is a time to go infinite. So we have 12 mana in total, 8 cards in hand. So we will start things off by casting an Astrolabe, which costs 3, so down to 6. Astrolabe is actually an artifact a lot like the Barb Sextant. You will pay 1, you sacrifice it, it's a cantrip, you will draw a card at the beginning of next turn's upkeep, but instead of adding 1 mana to your mana pool, you're adding 2 mana of the same color to your mana pool. So I've gone through the enemies of Kjeldor, so now into the allies of Kjeldor, so let's ripple away. So ripple away 3 extra Astrolabes. Again, different artwork. It's an Alliances common. And the 4th ripple card is Martin Stromgald, which is a famous Kjeldoran general who was adored by the Kjeldorans. Eventually, after that he will die, he'll be reanimated as a zombie to Limdul, so he will turn over to Limdul as a zombie, but that's not from his will. So Martin Stromgald under the library, and we'll resolve all 4 Astrolabes. Then we'll cast Shield Sphere, which is a 0/6 artifact that costs 0. And then for 5, so we will take 3 reds and 2 blacks. So we have 4 black mana left. We will cast a Thermopod. So Thermopod is a 4/3 creature. It's actually a snow creature that has an ability that whenever you sacrifice a creature, you can add 1 red mana to your mana pool. And since it's a snow creature, it will actually be a red snow mana that you will add to your mana pool. So again, for the Ice Age fans, I think you know what's the next card coming. So for the next card, we will need 2 white mana. So we will pay 1 black to tap and sacrifice an Astrolabe to add 2 whites to our mana pool. We will draw a card at the beginning of next turn's upkeep. Then we'll take 2 blacks, leaving us with only 1 black. And with those 2 blacks and 2 whites, we will cast Enduring Renewal. So Enduring Renewal is an enchantment. And when it's cast, when it's in play, you reveal your hand. So we'll start by revealing our hand. So Soul Grail, Dreams of the Dead, Soul Digger, and Perilous Research. And Dreams of the Dead, whenever you draw a creature, it will go in your graveyard. But however, whenever a creature in play dies or goes to the graveyard, it will then instead go back to your hand. So I think you can see what's going to happen here. As I said, time to go infinite. So we'll sacrifice Shield Sphere to Thermopod, Shield Sphere to the graveyard, back to your hand, and then we will cast Shield Sphere again. That is 1 red snow mana. We will repeat 125 more times, and that will net us a total of 126 red snow mana. And we still have our 1 black mana left also. So once that's done, well, then we can start casting the rest of our cards. So first, we need colored mana, so we will take 3 red to cast Soul Grail. So there's no Holy Grail in the Ice Age block, but there is a Soul Grail. So when that comes into play, you name a color. So we'll name blue, and whenever the Soul Grail is tapped for mana, it will give us blue mana. So we will go ahead and tap that for 1 blue. And then we'll pay 3 reds, leaving us with 120 snow mana, red snow mana, to sacrifice all 3 Astrolabes. So they will go to the graveyard. We will draw another 3 cards at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. And we will add 6 mana, 6 blue mana to our mana pool. So in total, we now have 7 blue mana. So we need to start using that blue mana. So first we'll cast Dreams of the Dead for 1 blue and 3 colorless. So we're down to 117 red mana, which is an enchantment that you can pay 1 blue and 1 colorless to bring a black or a white creature from your graveyard back into play. The caveat is that it now has cumulative upkeep 2, which is irrelevant for us. But the other really interesting fact is that the creature brought back will have, whenever this creature dies, it gets exiled. And as I mentioned, we want to exile every card in the deck, so that will be useful. And we'll go ahead and pay 4 blue, leaving us with 2 blue and 4 colorless, leaving us with 113 to activate Dreams of the Dead 4 times to grab our 4 Martyr of Bones. I did say they were important, and they will be. So Martyr of Bones is pay 1, reveal X black cards from your hand. You sacrifice the Martyr of Bones, and you remove up to X cards from a single graveyard from the game. So when these Martyr of Bones will die, they will not go to the graveyard, they will be exiled. Then we'll pay 2, so 111 red snow mana to put a Soul Digger into play. The Digger is you pay 2 to put the top card of your library under your, top card of your graveyard, under your library. And finally, now comes the time to start to end the time to go infinity to move on to our last phase. So we'll take 1 blue and 1 red snow mana, so now 110 red snow mana, and we will cast Perilous Research. So let's put this here. So Perilous Research is draw 2 cards, then sacrifice a permanent. So let's ripple away. So ripple away 1, 2, 3 Perilous Research, and finally ripple away General Jarkeld, which is another famous Kjeldoran general from the Ice Age. So that will go under our library. And so Perilous Research will draw 2, which will be revealed because of the Enduring Renewal. So revealing a Shatter and a Slate of Mind. And then sacrifice a permanent. We will sacrifice the Enduring Renewal. So we will hide our hand. And at the same time, make it that the next cards that we'll be drawing will be a surprise. So Perilous Research to the graveyard. Then the next one, draw 2. And we will send Dreams of the Dead to the graveyard. And then we will draw 2 again. Oops, draw 2. This time sending Lava Tubes to the graveyard. And finally, one last time, draw 2. And we'll be sacrificing our Soul Grail, so the Holy Grail of the Ice Age block, to the graveyard. So 3, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8 cards in hand. 110 red snow mana, 1 blue mana, 1 black mana. We will end phase 3. We don't need these creatures anymore, so sacrifice the Shield Sphere to the Thermopod and sacrifice the Thermopod to itself. And we're now at 112 red snow mana. And that will be the end of phase 3. And we will now move on to phase 4, which is a time for Apocalypse. So our Martyr of Bones are kind of like our 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. So they're here to announce the Apocalypse. So how will that start? Well, you've already seen the first card, which is Slate of Mind. So we'll take our last blue, cast Slate of Mind. We will ripple that. So another Slate of Mind, another Slate of Mind, and a Feldegriff and Kesa. So Feldegriff, which is actually an anagram for PhD Garfield, is our flying purple hippo. It's actually, from the storyline, what I understand, it's a creature that's in the imagination of the children of Kjeldor, and it actually probably did not even exist, or did it? Who knows? And Kesa was the elder druid of the Juniper Order. So she led the druid. She actually united with the Finehorn Elves, went into Yavimaya eventually. So very important character, and she did help the Kjeldorans defeat their enemies. So these will go under our library. And then the 3 Slate of Minds will be to change the word black to green for 3 of the 4 Martyr of Bones. So these 3 Martyr of Bones will have to reveal green cards instead of black cards to exile cards from our graveyard. Up next is the other card that you have seen. So we're going to cast Shatter, and we'll be targeting the Soul Devi Digger. So down to 110 red snow mana. We will reveal, ripple it away. So there's another Shatter, and then the last 3 legends from the deck. Legendary creatures, I should say, from the deck. So we'll start with Arcum Daxon, which was a Soul Devi Machinist, leader of the city-state of Soldev, Loviza Koldais, who led the Balduvians, and finally Darian, the king of Kjeldor, actually the last king of Kjeldor, because he ends up uniting Balduvia and Kjeldor together to create what later would become New Argive. So these last 3 legendary creature cards are put under our library. Then, before resolving the Shatters, we have 36 cards in our graveyard, so we'll activate the Soul Devi Digger one at a time 36 times, which will cost us 72 red mana. So 72 red mana, we had 110. We will have 38 red snow mana left in our mana pool. And one at a time, we'll put each of those cards under our library. Again, to speed things up, I'll put all of these here. And we are left with everything under our library, which is our Jester's Scepter. So we'll resolve the shatters. So this shatter will target Thrumming Stone. So Thrumming Stone to the graveyard. Shatter on top of it. We'll activate the Digger once. 36 snow mana left to put the shatter on under our library. Yes, I could have done it also on the Thrumming Stone, but just for fun, I will keep it there. And then finally, this shatter will hit the Digger, and that will also go to the graveyard. So we've gone through all the legendary creature cards from the Ice Age block, but there is still one legendary card that we haven't seen, so let's get to that. So up next, first we will exile an Elvish Spirit Guide, add 1 green mana, so our second card exiled, and we'll use that green mana to cast with a red mana Into the North. So Into the North allows us to search our library for a snowland and put it into play tapped. And we do have a snowland that is a legendary snowland in the Ice Age block, and that would be Dark Depths. So Dark Depths is a legendary snowland that does not provide any mana. It does come into play with 10 ice counters. You have to pay 3 to remove 1 ice counter. When there are no ice counters on Dark Depths, you sacrifice it and you put into play a Marit Lage token, legendary, black flying 2020. If we're talking about Apocalypse, that is who you want on your side to create an Apocalypse. So Into the North, we now shuffle our library. So here's our shuffled library. Jester's Scepter. This goes to the graveyard. So we don't need our library anymore, so we'll use our last black mana to cast a powerful tutor spell from the Ice Age block, which is Demonic Consultation. Of course, we're not consulting for anything. What does a Demonic Consultation do? You exile the top 6 cards of your library, and then you exile 1 card at a time until you find the name card, and you put that card in your hand. But as we're trying to exile everything, we will name a card that we know that's not in our library, so either the Martyr of Bones or the Amulet of Quaz. I like the Amulet of Quaz a lot, so let's name Amulet of Quaz. Of course, there's no Amulet of Quaz, so our library is exiled. So we're getting there. Not much left. 3 cards in hand. Next step, well, I think it's time to release Marit Lage. So let's go ahead and pay 30 red snow mana, and that's great because what better to melt ice than red mana? So let's burn away the Marit Lage's prison. So we're removing the 10 counters, we're sacrificing Dark Depths, and we're putting into play our 2020 flying indestructible Marit Lage. Now we still have some cards in our graveyard, and this is where our horsemen, our Martyr of Bones come into play. So we'll pay 1 red snow mana to activate one of the green Martyr of Bones. So we'll reveal 3 green cards. So Elvish Spirit Guide, Touch of Vitae, and Elvish Spirit Guide to exile 3 cards from our graveyard. So these are gone. So is the Martyr of Bones. If you recall from the Dreams of the Dead, they get exiled instead of going to the graveyard. Then we will do that same action one more time, down to 3 mana, reveal 3 green cards, exile our last 3 cards from our graveyard, sacrifice the Martyr of Bones that gets exiled. Then we need to give our Marit Lage haste. So next card will be another Elvish Spirit Guide to give us the green mana needed. We'll use that green mana in 2 red, leaving us with a soul red snow mana to cast Touch of Vitae. So Touch of Vitae will give haste to Marit Lage and also allow it to untap 1 additional time this turn. It is also a cantrip or a slow trip, so we will be drawing 7 at the beginning of next turn's upkeep, and this will go to the graveyard. And then we want to exile this last card, so we will pay our last red snow mana into the green Martyr of Bones, revealing our Elvish Spirit Guide, exiling the Touch of Vitae with our Martyr of Bones. And finally, we will exile our Elvish Spirit Guide for 1 green mana that we will inject into the Martyr of Bones, and it will be sacrificed to reveal 0 black cards, and it will be exiled. So it might have looked easy, but not easy to exile all the cards. And Marit Lage, being a token, is not a card, so I respected my engagement of exiling every card from the Ice Age block. So what's left? Attack with Marit Lage, pay 0 to untap it. So we're left with a untapped 20/20 attacking and nothing at all except exiled cards and these 7 cards that we're drawing at the next turn's upkeep. So last little tidbit, Marit Lage is not a planeswalker, but it is a legendary creature that can travel the plane. So one of the rare creatures that can travel from plane to plane without being a planeswalker. And so once it's wreaked the apocalypse here on this plane, it could then go to another plane and we'll be ready to draw 7 cards at the beginning of next turn's upkeep to start over the same process. So that's it for my Kjeldor's Winter's Night. Hope you enjoy it, and that's it. Thank you very much.